computer. Okay. Okay, everyone, welcome. I'm Dottie Kuntz, and this is the Vancouver, Washington IONS Institute of Noetic Sciences Community Group. And our topic tonight is about human design and the coming energy shift in 2027. We've all been expecting a shift in consciousness. We've been looking forward to it for years and years, and we know that it's happening right now because we can see all the chaos happening in the planet and the people. And so it's like, what might we expect from all this? And I've been taking human design classes now for, I don't know, a couple of years, I guess. And I find that their perspective is very interesting. And so I invited Cathy Rivers here tonight to tell us about it because she's the person I'm taking classes from. And I know she knows what she's talking about. So Cathy is a human design master level professional coach. She's had 20 years experience as a tech executive, 18 years as a life and business coach, 15 years deep study and coaching in human design. And she coaches clients to more effectively live their life according to their design. So if you want the real stuff, call Cathy. I've been doing the basic level, review your design and tell you what it means. But if you really want to know, you need to talk to Cathy. So Cathy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
You said you wanted me to do a little bit of an intro, do you?
Yes.
What do you want me to say besides grabbing the screen and going here?
Just go, say whatever you want to say.
All right. Well, let's see if we can get the slideshow going, the slide deck working. All right, everybody see that? We
yes.
Good? Wait, you got it, Dottie? Great.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for having me, Dottie. It's always, I've just really enjoyed having you in class because she asks the darndest questions, you guys, doesn't she? She wants to get into, and then she always, well, what about this? And she's always noticing every little detail and wanting to stitch it all together. So what she wanted me to talk about tonight ends up, in order to get to it, we have to have a journey through some real high-level stuff about human design. We're going to get into neutrino theory in quantum physics. You guys, anybody heard of neutrinos? Yeah, played with them, studied them a little bit. We're going to talk about some astronomy, the precession of the equinoxes. And then we're finally going to get to this piece that leads us to really what Dottie wants you to know tonight. So those of you that we're going deep into human design. This is a deeper level. And we're going to be talking about how people with human design are viewing the way consciousness is going to be changing on the planet, which is why Dottie's all over this. So we kind of have four kind of sections that we're going to go through. I'm going to try and stitch them all together, and kind of at the end of each section, let's do some Q&A and make sure everybody's coming along. Or I try not to, those of you that know human design, there won't be a lot of human design jargon in this. I'm trying to make this so it works for everybody. So here we go. Human design, here's our first lingo. Human design has been calling 2027 the big change. It's just this big change happening in 2027. And my gosh, we're 4 years away. You know, when I first started studying, it was 20 years away. And it's like, oh my goodness. To get to talking about the big change, we're going to learn about global cycles, and the nitty gritty, which is what has Dottie all excited, is this whole concept of locks and keys. But it takes us a lot. We gotta do a rabbit trail in order to get there. So here we go with very much just a high level on human design at this point. You know, what is it? the human design system's based on the assumption that all beings, critters, plants, rocks, insects, we all receive an energetic imprinting at our time of birth. And this energetic imprinting determines the nature of our aura, the way we make decisions, or the ideal way we should be making decisions that are in alignment with our energy imprinting. And we also receive just an amazing set of unique gifts and qualities. And, human design came about in 1987, and part of its purpose was to position us for 2027. Part of the message that came through was so that we can learn to operate as a differentiated, unique human being, where we're fully connected to our inner authority, which is not our mind, it's an inner guidance system. This is a core teaching of human design. We're not going to go there tonight, but there's a huge piece of human design about the brilliance of our mind helps us to serve other people, but it doesn't help guide us on our own personal path. And for that, we need to touch into more of an embodied wisdom. So human design came about to help us get connected to that. So we can discern what is correct for us personally in an ever-changing and at times very confusing world. And, arrived in 1987, it was one of those divine download kind of events where a gentleman named Ra received, did the 7 or 8 days of being immersed with what he calls the voice, and just truly got a download of this amazing information. Human design is totally unique, but it is built upon 4 ancient modalities. And so the Chinese I Ching, 4,000 to 5,000 years old, people played with the I Ching. I only get a few hands here. I only see a few of you. I got to make this. The I Ching has a belief of 64 states of human consciousness, 64 states of being human. It's beautiful in its own right. The Kabbalah, from the Hebrew tradition, the Hindu chakra system, bringing in Western astrology, and it synthesizes this with, of all things, human genetics and neutrino theory from quantum physics. We're going to dive into neutrino theory here in a minute. It's the synthesis of these ancient modalities with the 2 leading edge sciences, and there are totally unique aspects that are just only found in human design. It's the synthesis that make up this system. And the glue of it all, the why it all works piece, is this concept of neutrinos from quantum physics. So that's where we're going to go first into some details.
Kathy, I
Yeah.
noticed that Heather has her hand up. I don't know.
Hi, Heather. I don't have the ability to have everybody's.
I'm sorry, that was just me saying, yes, I do the I Ching.
Great.
Okay.
Good. You guys pipe up, because the way my screen is set up, I don't get to see all of the Hollywood squares, only about half of you. So let's talk about neutrinos. And I'm going to bring my screen bigger so I can see you all. Who's even heard of the word neutrinos before? Okay, and have some basic understanding of them. Well, they come in really cool in the human design world. It's the neutrinos that connect us to the universe and to each other. So as I was learning human design and learning neutrino theory in the beginning, I didn't even understand neutrinos. I was just fascinated because human design worked. It was just so freaky accurate in describing people, describing my horses. I shifted the way I trained my horses so that I would reach each of them individually. Made such an enormous difference. And then I wanted to understand the science behind it. And that takes us to neutrinos. So in 1987, when human design came to raw, neutrinos were still only a hypothesis. They've been a hypothesis for decades. And the physicists were just trying desperately to prove they had, again, assumptions about their properties, but they had not, through scientific method, proved their existence nor their properties until 1997. And three physicists, two in Canada and someone, I'm going to say over in Asia, I lose that detail. Three physicists proved these properties, and in 2015, they received the Nobel Prize in Physics for this work. And so it's really fundamentally shifted how the physicists, the scientists are thinking about and working with concepts of how the universe is organized and how it's working. So from that work, we can say, for the Western mind that likes to have things proved through scientific study, we know that neutrinos are the smallest particle in the universe that has mass. They're the byproduct of the stellar fusion of stars and suns, sometimes a little bit from Jupiter for us. We know that neutrinos travel in straight lines just slower than the speed of light. And whatever's in front of them, they just pass through and they just keep on going. There's no barrier. Other objects with mass are no barrier for neutrinos. We know that neutrinos are the most prevalent particle in the universe. So 3 trillion pass through every square inch of Earth every second. We got 100 billion just going through our thumbnails right now. And that's just mind-boggling. It just floors me every time. We live in a neutrino ocean or a neutrino stream. Now, I put this in if there's any real, true science geeks here. The mass of neutrinos is 1/1,000,000th the weight of one proton. I mean, we're infinitesimally small. We're way below atoms. Our sun produces 70% of all neutrinos in our solar system. And those neutrinos take 8.5 minutes to reach Earth. And another little fun piece, when a star goes supernova, only 1% of it's emitted as light and 99% is emitted as neutrinos. There's just some little fact basis about neutrinos. This is all from science. But of course, human design has that and had that and more. We believe that stars and planets have their own consciousness. And having mass allows neutrinos to carry information. So when neutrinos pass through another object, there is some communication that's happening. There's an exchange. So we think of human design, thinks of neutrinos as the great communicators. Big exchanges. So here we come being born, popping out of the womb. The neutrino stream is passed through us and leaves us with a unique energetic imprint or blueprint based on where it came from. And as it passes through us, we add our own little infinitesimal piece of quality into the neutrino stream, and it continues to go on. Now, was it Billy? The daily neutrino stream influences our basic design over the course of our lives. And if you have what we call a light design, there'll be an example of one here in a little bit. You're highly impacted by the neutrino stream on a daily basis. You can be. And it can feel like one day you're this and the next day you're that, without possibly any rhyme or reason. And so it's, understanding your design helps you to know who you are in the flow of all this energy, all of these neutrinos that are moving along. Let's just stop here. Any questions about come on, I can't run my. There any questions, Janine?
Yeah, I'm just wondering I'm so responsive to solar flares and geomagnetic storms and all of that. So might that be the neutrinos? Because I know they say it takes 3 days to get here. Sometimes it seems like I'm reacting before the flare even happens. So could that be the
8.5 minutes.
Yeah, so it could be the neutrinos that are making that connection for me. Okay, great, thank you.
Talk to Dottie about your sun sign and investigate it with her and see if that adds any deeper understanding for you.
Okay.
Because you're getting 70% of our neutrinos are coming from the sun, and the specific energy it brings is 70% of our design. So if there's solar flares, there could be that dimension of you is getting more or less. Dottie, if Janine's sun sign is in an undefined or open energy center, it could have a different experience for her.
And so like if it's Aries, which is a fire sign?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, well, we'll just.
Okay.
Dottie will look at your chart. She'll help you understand what gate it is, what the specific quality is, because within Aries, there's about 5 or 6 breakdowns. And I've got a little slide that'll explain a little bit of the absolute precision that human design does. And astrology is wonderful. I love it. But we go different places.
Thank you.
Victoria.
Yeah, so I'm curious about that they imprint us as they pass through us at birth, because aren't they always kind of passing through us, like our moms at conception and all through our
We actually receive a part of our imprinting that comes from our genetic past at 88 days solar arc prior to our birth. But this is one of those givens in human design that part of the transmission is just we get our own imprinting from the physical planet organization at our time of birth when we pop out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? All right. Great. All right. So let's talk about this energy imprinting a bit. And so the human design body graph, which is this inner graphic, and the I Ching wheel, which is the outer organization, are tools used to interpret a person's energy imprinting. And I'm just showing you this to demonstrate some of the complexities of it. And 2, this is what Dottie's been learning to read with more with more brilliance. So we're going to be looking at one specific feature of the body graph and the way we get imprinted tonight, but this is a glimpse at the wholeness of it all. So we use this as a tool to be able to interpret what's going on. These columns of numbers that you see on this chart is this person's very specific imprinting. So hang with me, we're just going to look at a little variation here. And all the imprinting, every chart, every energetic blueprint is unique. Even twins born 4 minutes apart, there's going to be a component at the lowest level that's going to be different. So we think of us, we relate to us as all being totally unique. And the practice of human design is honoring and embracing our own uniqueness. And there's just another one. This is an example of a very, what we would call a lightweight chart, where there's just a couple of these geometric shapes are colored in. This person is highly influenced by the daily transit of the planets and the neutrino stream. You recognize it, Dottie? All right. So just a few human design highlights. There are, we look at all these categories. This is what Dottie's been studying. There are 4 auric types. The neutrino actually energizes your auric energy field. There are 7 forms of inner wisdom. There are these 9 energy centers, these geometric shapes. For all of you, think chakras. There's a you can kind of, what you understand about chakras, you can kind of put into energy centers, you'll be fine. Connecting the 9 energy centers are 36 channels, 36 connecting lines. These bring qualities from the Hebrew tree of life, the Kabbalah. If you notice, we work off of a base of 9 energy centers instead of the traditional 7 in the Hindu chakra system. We believe we've evolved energetically over the last centuries. Then on this chart, you're going to, there's, I don't know, if you got a big enough monitor, you don't need to read them, but there are 64 numbers. We call them gates, for gateways of energy. They are always in the same position on this chart, but there are 64 gateways, gates. They correlate to those 64 states of consciousness that come from the I Ching, the 64 states of being human. And they correlate to the 64 states, the 64 codon in your DNA, which is where Richard has gone nuts on and had his own awakening that brought gene keys into the world. If you want a Richard story, he was we can do one at the end. He was my mentor was his mentor at one time and was right there at the beginning of Richard's awakening around gene keys. And so there's this amazing correlation, human design gates, the 64 states of consciousness from the I Ching, and the 64 codon in your DNA. So are we studying the DNA of our personality, the personality of our DNA versus hair color and eye color, etc., that our other DNA does? It's always fun to kind of consider. What's interesting is each of these 64 gates is further broken down into 6 little slices These are the 64 gates going around this wheel. Each of those is broken into 6 more. So Western astrology, completely amazing. It goes places human design doesn't, and human design goes places Western astrology doesn't. So if I said Western astrology divides the star field, the heavens, into the 12 signs, astrological signs, you go, okay, right? Human design divides the heavens or the star field into the 64 gates, further broken by 6. So we're working with 384 uniquely different energies. They even break down even further, but I am not going to memorize 69,000 discretely different energies and some change. Working with a 384 is more than enough. And each of us in our design, we get imprinted through 26 of them. So we get 26 activations, and that starts to comprise our energetic blueprint. And this is what Dottie's been learning and having a great time and doing very well with. And so together, this is what I've spent decades learning to interpret and to work with. It's what Dottie's working with. And this is what you're very likely to see if you go out and calculate your chart out on a website. They're out there all over the place. You can go to my website at catherinerivers.com and generate a free chart, see a few little anecdotes about yourself. And, you know, for today, we're not going to go into more of the details about this. Get a reading from Dottie. She needs practice. She needs lots of practice. The more you practice this, the more it just comes alive for the person that's doing the study. So, but what we're going to look at today, the one that is important when we're trying to understand this 2027 big change, the big change in our background frequency that's going to impact our consciousness, we're going to just play here with one of the energy centers. But before I go there, questions just about some of the basic background on human design? Clear as mud? Some of the stuff you've had before? Yeah, okay. So let's go dive into this one energy center.
Cathy, Milt has his hand up.
Oh, hey, Milt. Milt, do you have a question?
There you go. Yes. I missed the first part of this, so maybe I missed this. But was there a time 10 or 15 or 20,000 years ago when something was activated, when there was a period of evolution based around these neutrinos?
Well, yes, and if you hang in there, I've included Dottie's favorite chart that has just had her a buzz, and we'll look back to 18,000 BC. How's that?
That's really good. Thank you.
All right. It's that chart that got me into trouble, you guys, and has me here. So, all right. So this energy center, this chakra-like energy center, is totally unique to human design. It's not in any other system. This is a quintessential pure human design, straight from the information that Ra received. He named it the G Center. Some teachers call it the Self Center. It's also the quality, or it's known as the magnetic monopole. And so this is it. It functions so differently than a chakra or any chakra that you've heard of. This is its own unique thing. So let's talk about some of these properties. And we all got one, you guys. We all got one. So everything that I'm talking about, we all experience differently from one another in how it's been imprinted, but we have this function overall. So the G center, the magnetic monopole, as I said, unique to human design. In the scientific world, they're still trying to prove it exists. So this is something that is embedded in the human design belief system that is yet to be fully proved by the scientific community. But they've got, if you go out and Google magnetic monopoles, you'll see some of the work that's being done, some of the queries, some of the hypotheses, some of the experiments they're setting up and what they're hoping to do with it. It'll read differently than what I'm going to share tonight, but that's just fine. This is what we believe. So the G center, it literally does sit here in your sternum. We believe that the G center brings all of our aspects together. It's like the hub of a wheel. It's a magnetic monopole. It only functions in one direction. It pulls us in. It holds our energies. It is the home or the seat of our identity and purpose. And our magnetic monopole orients us in time and space. It directs us on our soul path or life path and our personal trajectory in this lifetime. It's just like our personal compass, our personal GPS that's trying desperately to have us take the road that we came here to travel so we could learn and have the experiences we chose to have in this lifetime. In the human design world, this energy center has 8 gateways of energy. And just to give you a flavor of the energies, the qualities that are held in the magnetic monopole, we have gate 1, which is all about, it's called creativity. It's the forward thrust. If you're an I Ching person, you'll recognize some of these labels. The creative thrust. This is the most yang gate in the whole schema of 64. So it's thrusting forward. Gate 2, the gate of receptivity. It's the gate of receiving and having inner guidance. It's the most yin gate in the whole schema of 64. Gate 10 is all about behavior so we can survive. Those of us that have gate 10, every time I say, it's like, you got gate 10, are you always going around, oh my God, those people don't know how to behave? I have gate 10. I'm just like, I cringe sometimes when I watch what people are doing. That comes from my gate 10. Gate 15, humanity or extremes. It's all about honoring all life forms. Gate 13 is the gate of listening, and it's listening deep to life, to all of life on all levels. There are some aspects of gate 13 that give you a little time, can give you some time travel. There are aspects in a number of the gates, you guys, that can have you moving backwards and forwards in time. Maybe hopping over. I haven't thought about it that way, but it's fine. It would work. Gate 46, the gate of synchronicity, which is all about being in the right place at the right time with the right attitude. Can you hear how these These are qualities that help us orient in time and space for our own personal soul path. The gate 7, a leadership gate, the gate of uniformity and common intent. And the beautiful gate 25, which is all about, is called innocence, but it's about universal love. What do you got in your chart, Cindy? I love that you're looking and following. Unmute yourself.
I've got 46. Synchronicity.
Yeah, being in the right place at the right time with the right attitude. If you get out of your head.
Yes.
Right? If you get out of your head, you let your gut, your body wisdom guide your actions, you're just going to find that it puts you in the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
Really fun. So these are these are the qualities that are activated in the magnetic monopole, in the G center. We all have them. Some are just more constantly available or consistently available than others. And they make up this one energy center that is just central to all aspects of human design. You know, it's always orienting us to life, right? If we get out of our heads, it will get us where we need to go. And now here's where we're going to do a crossover. Cindy?
Can I ask, Cathy? When you say we all have them, are you saying we all have all 8 in that?
We all have all 64 gates.
Okay.
Some are activated in a state of constantly in the on position. We get access to the others that, like on your chart that you're looking at, Cindy, you get access to everything that's white, that's not colored in, by who you're around, who you're in physical proximity to. Although I believe that we're all jamming energetically together on this call, and by the daily transit of the planet. So we all experience all of these qualities. Some are more, some of these qualities, we have a more transitory, temporary experience with. Turns on, turns off, turns on, turns off. As Dottie knows, it's one of the first things, you know, what does our society value, you guys? Consistency or turning on, turning off, coming and going. And so when we learn about the parts of our design that are consistent and always there, we usually recognize them and go, yep, 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 yep. And that we recognize that all this other part of ourselves flows, comes and goes by who we're around in the daily transit of the planets. We can start to make some real different sense of our lives, because society values consistency, truly. And we're all chasing consistency in places where that is not how we are energetically designed. Willpower is a big example. Heather?
I'm just looking at my own chart, the one that
Good.
Dottie did. So in my magnetic monopole, there's 2 gates that are purple colored. Are those the 2 that are activated? Okay.
Yep. Yep. Those are the 2 that are consistently available to you.
Ah, okay.
And so they're going to be some of your constant themes. People will know, they'll recognize in you. It's like, oh yeah, Heather she's always listening. What are your gates that are turned on?
7 and 15.
All right. You love everybody, don't you?
Yeah.
You can go mingle and hang out. You want to bring everybody in. You don't want to leave anybody out. You think universally when you think about policies and invitations and all of that.
Yeah.
And then the other one was 7.
Yeah.
You always want to get everybody on the same page. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When
oh-
everybody gets on the same page, you are a happy camper.
So here I am, an introvert in spades in this time and place in history. So there's a great deal of frustration, which is my not self theme.
Uh-huh. Yep.
All right, I'm getting
It's just a signal to take a pause and to get in back in. Are you a generator? What's your type and authority?
yes, I am a generator. Good guess.
Yeah, generators get frustrated. So, and it's just because you're trying to push through and push over, generally mentally, because you think something should happen versus listening to your gut.
Yep.
You got to listen to the gut. It's just like someone's got to ring that doorbell, and that starts your next decision-making process and choosing. And don't do any of that moving forward unless you get a sacral hit. That's so it's not about, it's just, I don't like the word not self-theme because it makes it sound like we're doing something bad or wrong. It's just a great little prompt just to say, oh, I'm not being a generator in this moment. Press pause, remember your things about what are the rules, guidelines about being a generator, get back in your flow, and then move forward. It's usually often that you're not trusting life and you're having to push over the top to make things happen.
I feel like I've just been busted.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Because guess what? You don't have to be frustrated. You get in the groove of your design and you get that least little frustration and you stop and you reset your energy and you do life a little different, and life has a new flow and momentum. For those of you, I'm a splenic manifester. We get angry. I don't get angry anymore. I finally, 8 years ago, I finally I took a practice to just be investigating every time I get torched. It's because something was in my blankety blank way, and or broke, usually because it broke. How many people want to throw the sewing machine out the window? That was always my thing, right? And we get angry, and I'd want somebody else to fix it, but I'm supposed to be the fixer in my life. So once you start understanding these things, you literally change your perspective. Life gets a much more flow and joy and ease.
Thank you.
Good question. Victoria.
Yeah, just really quick. So do these correspond to the gene, our primary gene keys? Because all four of them.
So what Richard has done with his epiphanies is I'm not, you guys know the number more. He's focused in on about 10 or 12, not all 64. I mean, he's looking at 10 or 12 specific placements. And so, and he's really just honed in on Sun, Earth, Venus, Mars, and the nodes. I can't remember, Dottie. I'd have to pull my own chart up, and so he's found value in looking at things with a little bit different relationship to each other, and it's effective and wonderful. He was ready to start a human design school when he had his own kind of download and vision about the gene keys. Called Chayton immediately, and Chayton had to go to him and hear this whole outpouring of what had come to him. And finally, he birthed it. It's great. So he's a big supporter of human design. It's what led him to come with the gene keys. He's amazing.
So the gates, so I noticed my 4 gene keys, the same numbers are on here.
Yep, the same numbers. He calls them a gene key.
Okay.
I'm getting myself a little better here. So if we go back to this chart, we work with these 13 planets and nodes and points in space. Richard works with just a fewer of the planets are of more importance to him in the teaching that he does. All very valid, wonderful. I read Gene Keys all the time. I don't do the Golden Path piece and some of that work that he does. I haven't had the time to dive in, or it's just not right for me to dive in yet. But his work gives you literally the deepest understanding of the gate line combinations in human design. So they all absolutely dovetail together. Yeah. It's all good stuff.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a magnetic monopole. And Ra believes the Earth has a magnetic monopole. The monopole of the Earth is influenced by the neutrino stream and orients humanity at a non-personal level. So we're into a new topic. We're going to now go talk about how does that happen, right? So our planet is about to enter a new region of the neutrino stream, which will affect our magnetic monopole most intensely starting February 28, 27, the end of February 2027. And so this brings us to the concept of global cycles. How is the Earth moving into a new region of the neutrino stream?
Cathy,
Yeah.
could you elaborate on where the current neutrino stream is coming from? There's only one stream coming from one direction. I'm confused.
No, I will be talking about it. It comes at the end when we're going to compare the old and the new. So hang in there. And it is just like our magnetic monopole has 8 gates, eight qualities that are all working together. There's 8 qualities that impact the Earth. And so that are guiding and creating this background frequency. And it's coming from different directions in the universe. It's not just one stream, it's the culmination of all the neutrino streams coming from the outer galaxies. Think big, think universal here. All right. But we'll get to the details of the old background frequency and the new. That's where we're headed. And that's where we'll get to the juice about what's changing. So we have to understand just a little bit about global cycles. People understand precession of the equinoxes here. You guys are all into this kind of stuff. Anybody precession of the equinoxes? All right, we're going to have a little astronomy lesson. We got to tie all this together. All right, so human design correlates global cycles to the following events. When we discover heavenly bodies, we believe it brings in a new awareness into our psyche and into humanity. Isn't that interesting? We'll have an example. The orbits of the outer planets as they transit their full duration, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus in particular, these are known as generational planets. When they've completed an orbit, it's like we've completed a cycle as humanity. because they take so long to orbit. Pluto is 248 years. And so it's been fascinating. We just had the birth. Where was Pluto at the signing of the Declaration of Independence? And we've just completed a Pluto revolution, Pluto orbit, 248 years last year, the year before. And here we are fighting for our independence again. Very fascinating. And global cycles are tied to the precession of the equinoxes. Naughty, because I'm not leading, I'm not, okay, we got an hour. All right. So here's just a fun example of that. Uranus was discovered in 1781. And I'm sure there's probably more horoscope people in here that are better attuned to planet qualities than I am. Uranus was a planet, it's all about waking up to higher states of consciousness. In human design, our Uranus will slap us up the side of the head if we aren't paying attention, trying to get us to wake up to the quality that's sitting in our Uranus activation. The Pluto orbit of Pluto is 248 years. And so, interesting little coincidence, or is it, that the orbit of Pluto from the date of the discovery of Uranus is 2027. So we've gone through one cycle, and planet of waking up, Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth, and transformation. One of the reasons we pay attention to the outer planets in your design. You want to know the quickest way to change things up in your life? Go look at your conscious Pluto and follow the wisdom that's in that gate line. Go read Gene Keys for it and get your butt kicked, or realize that you've been doing all the right work all along. And so here we're coming into 2027 does correlate to this planetary change. It's one of the confluences. But the bigger confluence, and what's really marching time along, is the precession of the equinoxes. And this has to do with the gradual change in the direction of the Earth's rotational axis. Okay. So we'll go through these slides fast. We'll get to the end, and I just want you to understand a general concept so that you can see, oh yes, we really are moving into a whole different point in time and space. And it'll answer Milt's question about what was going on 20,000 years ago, what was going on 10,000 years ago, what's going to go on 5,000 years ago from now. So the precession, it causes the position of the celestial poles to drift through the constellations at a continuous rate of roughly 20 arc seconds a year. I love data sometimes. It's about 1 moon diameter a century, glacially slow. But didn't we just have a little adjustment on the world clock here in the last month or so? All of this is because, a clock is artificial time. It really doesn't exactly match what we experience energetically. So currently, our celestial pole, the North Pole, pretty much points to the star Polaris, and we call it the North Star. But in 14,000 years, the North Star is going to be over here. It's going to be Vega. We're literally moving and changing our orientation to the heavens, right? The forms of the star field don't change. So the Big Dipper will always look like the Big Dipper and Cassiopeia, etc. But the point in which everything revolves around, that's going to be in a different place. And this is caused by the gravitational force of the sun and the moon and the other planets causes the earth to bulge, and we get a wobble. They literally call it a wobble. This wobble motion is called axial precession. It's known as the precession of the equinoxes. One wobble takes 26,000 years. And so think of a dreidel, a little spinning top that you would, a little spinning top, and as it slows down, the top of it, it's going slower and slower and slower. One of those is 26,000 years for Earth. Okay. And it puts us in a different time, it reorients us to the star field, to the neutrino stream. So Earth has three kinds of motion, right? We spin on our axis every 24 hours. Then we're going around the sun once a year. And then we wobble once every 26,000 years. And this is just a graphic that I grabbed off of the internet, just showing, it really makes a huge difference in the orientation in space of where our North Pole really is pointing, right? 26,000 years. I'm not going to read this, but it's here. You can come back. It's a great article if you're curious about precession of the equinoxes. And if we think about all the ancient cultures, astronomy is ancient. They were plotting the movement of the heavens centuries and centuries ago. They've always, and the Mayans, everybody, all ancient cultures have had a relationship to the stars. So now we're going to get to the good stuff, you guys. Questions about that?
I have a question.
Yeah, Janine.
Thank you. So I understand from listening to Nassim Haramein, who's a unified field physicist, that oh, here, let me put my screen on.
Oh, good.
That we're always taught that our planets have an elliptical orbit around the sun, but what they don't teach us is that they're spiraling through space around the sun, through the galaxy, meaning that we're never at the same place in the galaxy as we were born. So I just wondered if that had anything, if that's pertinent to what you were just talking about.
Yeah, it's all part of it. This whole, and so that's the macro, right? Amazing. Micro, it is ideally human design helps you be in time, have a relationship to time and space that's appropriate for you. Regardless of what's going on in the outer influences. How do you navigate that?
Okay, that sounds
so you can be
great.
in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Oop. Come on. I want you to collapse, not go over. All right. So let's combine information about human design and the precession of the equinoxes. So here are a couple concepts. So we humans, we have a G center, magnetic monopole, orients and guides us. From a human design perspective, this is our soul's truth, our soul path in operation. And that the magnetic monopole, as we've been talking, has eight gates. This concept of incarnation crosses and life themes is a unique human design lingo. And it has to do with purpose and direction. What's interesting is they're made up of 4 gates, and the 2 make up the gates of the magnetic monopole. They're unlike everybody else, just totally unlike any of the other 196 or something life themes. So again, there's just some interesting here And one of those life purposes is the vessel of love. And one of those life purposes is called the Sphinx. It's about pointing the direction. Vessel of love is all about universal love and unconditional love. Second concept, Earth has a magnetic monopole that mirrors the gates of our personal G center. So the neutrino stream passing through Earth generates a background frequency that is orienting and conditioning our global society. Due to the precession of equinoxes, the star field shifts, the background frequency changes every 412 years. And the Earth's wobble moves us, and it's because of the wobble. And there's this whole precession in the way what we call the locks and the keys move over the centuries, over these many centuries. And there's a repeating super macro flow and repetitiveness that our universe goes through, that we experience here from this perspective of a point on Earth. So we can cast it back and we can cast it forward and know what's going to be happening. And then human design came into existence to give humans the tool so we can operate correctly through this big, gigantic change, potential change that's coming up. So understanding the big change brings us to the concept of locks and keys. So here's our final concept. This gets us down to the details, but I'm somebody that wants everybody to have context. I want you at least to go, oh, she gets it. So somebody's got some logic around this. And here we go, locks and keys. Would you be surprised, since what we've been talking about, the 8 gates of the magnetic monopole, that there are 8 locks? 8 gates of the magnetic monopole they never change. This concept of a lock never changes. There are 8 keys. Keys define the way a lock will be expressed. The keys change every 412 years. We're going through a way we talk about this is that the keys are changing. The keys are changing in the locks. We're going to get new keys. The lock is going to get expressed differently. So we're going to look at these 8 locks and what are those qualities. We've had a bit of a look when we looked at how do they function for us individually. We're going to take that and how does it function for humanity on a bigger scale. We're going to go macro. And then we'll end up looking at the current keys and the new keys. You game? Ready to go here? All right.
Cathy, I have one quick question.
Absolutely.
One of the screens said about operating correctly, and the
Mhm.
word correctly has me wondering, does that mean in alignment with who we are?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. It's often it's a word that's a lot in the literature. So what is correct for me is not necessarily going to be correct for somebody else. So what's our personal correctness?
Okay, great.
Right. And it's not the school marm. It's not, we got to do it right. It's just what choices in life, what directions that we're taking are truly correct for us.
Uh-huh.
Versus we're going along because we think we should, because we're kind of head blind and it's the way it's always gone, because it's what our family's always done. How do we break out of that to know what's correct for us?
So aligning with the truth of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, super.
And
Thank you.
being able to discern, right? Discern that's correct for someone else, or that's a societal truth that no longer, it doesn't apply to me, or it's not my truth anymore. So,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of human design is who am I and who is the other,
Mm.
right? So we can discern, and then we can be in our own skin, in our own auric field.
Mm. Thank you.
And when we're there, life's a little bit more of a party, right? At least that's my experience.
That sounds good.
All right. So this is the chart that Dottie just is going nuts over. I'm not going to teach you how to read it, but this is like, what is this? She made me work hard on this one. But if we look, again, I'm just going to orient you a little bit so you can just have a sense of the immensity. Right now, we're down here on this line that's white. Does my cursor come across on the screen? Okay. And so we've been functioning in this background frequency from 1615 to, you know, the beginning of through to 2026. And the human design lingos, we've been living with the background frequency of the cross of planning, which is all about the tribe, the collective, working logically with all of society with a very forward-looking view. But because this is all tied to the precession of the equinoxes, just like we get imprinted in that, we generate that chart that illustrates for us. This calculation has been done, and we know that it is cyclical. It just keeps happening at these macro levels. So this particular chart goes back to 16,000 BC. And I know he went back that far because the precession is starting at the first gate and it just moves forward. But it could be further back, it could be further forward. And there's just some lovely, if you look down this center column, you'll just see cross of Sphinx, vessel of love, cross of Sphinx, vessel of love. There's this spiraling, there's this movement through space and time. And under each one of these, there's a rhythm of these themes that are coming through. It's always the four ways, the unexpected, the laws, the Maya. You look down at the next cross of the Sphinx. It's time is repeating itself. The flavor is always repeating itself. And just to have this feel that we're in this enormous rhythm of time and movement, and we're just this little tiny little speck, right? We're moving into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, and that's where we're going to go. But I don't know what Dottie's been doing this chart, but this is the one she wanted to have explained. Made my head hurt. All right, so let's start talking about locks and keys. Again, we just have to explain a few more things. If you remember, this is the wheel. If we brought it forward, this is the I Ching human design wheel. These gates or gene keys, we can call them gene keys too, that are sitting in yellow on the outside. These are the gates that make up the gates of our G center of our magnetic monopole. Isn't it freaky how they are absolutely uniform around the wheel? They correlate to all the pagan holidays. It's just, this whole thing is just amazing about time and our relationship to our worlds and the nature of life and celebration, you know, throughout all of humanity, gate 15. And time goes this way, time goes to the left on this. locks go to the right, time goes to the left. And currently, this is the way we're matching up. We've got a gate 10 lock with a gate 9 key. And again, I'm going to explain these in a moment. This is just the graphic. And amazing, the piece about this graphic is really how much of just kind of a spoke presentation the locks have around the wheel. The sun travels this wheel in 1 year. This represents 1 solar year. And so again, to see this uniformity is just, there's so much beauty in the, the numbers, the math, the geometry of it all. So let's go back. We're going to first look at what are these locks. And even if you're in Gene Keys, these are not gate names. These are lock names. So they're going to have a little, you're going to go, oh yeah, I can see a correlation, but they're going from the micro personal to more of the macro humanity level is what you're going to see in this, in these naming conventions. So gate 25, called the way. It's the gate of innocence or the gene key of innocence. It's how an individual is connected to the totality. We have a lock called the temple. I don't remember who had gate 46 on their self-center, right? This is about love of the body, love of the vehicle. How do we relate to the vehicle? How's humanity going to relate to the vehicle, to the body, the temple? Gate 10 is the nature. It's the gate of behavior, but here it's what are the conditions that the behavior of survival, how is that shifting? What's the nature of our well-being? What's the nature of our ability to get to the other side? The pattern. This relates to the gate of humanity, love of all things. So what's the pattern for humanity? What's the pattern of all forms? Gate 13, the witness. Gate 13, this is that listener, right? It's always listening for the secret. It's listening for the secret that's going to unlock the universe. All right? It's changing. The leader, gate 7, the way in which humanity is going to be guided. Gate 1, the example, that totally yang gate. Where is our creative thrust? Where's our creative impulse and focus? And then the plan, gate 2, the driver, the inner knowing, but where is the overall direction for humanity? These are the 8 locks. They're always this. They're always this through all time and space. The locks are always the same. They may, in this charting, and we're not going there, they spiral, they move, but they're always the same 8 locks, just a little different positioning. They are static. This is, for micro, this is our self and purpose and identity. And for the macro, it's the purpose and identity of humanity. All right. Here's where we're going. And this chart, won't make sense, but these inner numbers have all changed, and somebody who knows human design is going to start going, oh, I know this one, or the gene keys, and you can read into the gene keys for these as well. And let's look at this graphic then. I'm a spreadsheet girl. I just had to put this way. So let's talk about each of these 8 locks, and get a clock so I can see it. And we're going to talk about how it functions today and what it's moving to. So what's the nature of the way, the overall direction of humanity? We've been in gate 37 or gene key 37, all about the family. The individuals are connected by family, community, tribe. Everyone is focused on the survival of the group. Where we're going, where's the overall direction of humanity? We're going to gate 55, which is highly, highly individual and highly emotional. We're going to be in the same mood. For those of you that know human design a bit more, we move into the 6th line first as we transit into the new frequency. So we go into gate 55, line 6, which is the gate of selfishness, which is the gate of I've got to do it myself. Finding spirit through materialism. This is a major energy shift. The total direction change for humanity. Now, what I love about Richard's work in Gene Keys is his work about the shadow side, the gift side, and the city side. So all of this is absolutely beautiful over here on the right, if everybody's vibrating at their highest level, right? The problem is we're all over the place. Humans are messy, right? And so this is where we look at the continuum. This is what this is, and why we need to all contribute our highest vibration here. Because this energy is also, I'm abundant, you're abundant. But from a fear-based place, it's I got to do it myself. We talk about the shift in the key for the temple, the love of the body, how we relate to the body. It's been in gate 40, very tribal, very much about hard work and rest. And we think about 40-hour work weeks, we think about vacations, all of these structures were supported by this. We're moving to another tribal gate. This is the genetic imperative to reproduce, to be the, and this is a phrase from Ra, to be the mother of what follows. We're moving into this truly a great big shift, and being the mother of the new beings that are going to be born inside or with the influence of the background frequency. As human beings are going to come out different. They're going to have a background frequency that is different than our background frequency. And we are all living in this period of transition between the old and the new. Our nature, how do we survive? It's been logic. We survive by paying attention to details. It got us to the moon. It's advanced science. It's gotten us to, deep into the cells. It's created technology. This is always a forward-looking energy that's wanting to get to an assured future. How do we get there? We're moving into the world where gate 34 is the way we survive. And we survive by being busy with our own power, our own empowerment, not group empowerment. This particular gate is not warm and fuzzy. It's all about my energy, my focus in life. It tends to actually not see others. Now, when we're operating correctly, you guys, that power is an amazing role model for everybody else, and it starts to get everybody else to go along and be empowered as well. But if it's fear-based, it can go wreak havoc and be a bull in a china shop, right? What's the pattern? What's the form for humanity? And we've been logical and selective. Gate 16 is all about selectivity. It's always, what do we pull out of all the possibilities? What are the ones we're going to take? Another logic gate that is, again, brought us, built factories, the Industrial Revolution. All of this is coming from these logic gates. The pattern is gate 20, the new one, which gate 20 is just now. It's existing and living in the moment. Now, if we all know how to really be in tune with our authentic self, it's going to be really wonderful. But this can also be on the fear side, not able to have any kind of delayed gratification capacity in our lives as humanity. We need it now. The key for the witness is, what are we deeply listening for? What's that secret that we're seeking that's going to hold the keys to the kingdom? It's been gate 61. It's been our search for inner truth. Deep, deep, deep inner truth for and within our world. And so all of the why, why are we here? The deep philosophical explorations that have gone on, all the existential conversations. This group, you guys are a gate 61 group. Totally. I wouldn't be surprised if many of you have it in your chart, right? We're moving. The key, what we're really going to be listening for in the future is ambition. How do I rise up and succeed? It is a tribal energy. It's looking for the right people to associate with to generate success. It's just a very different energy. The leader, how are we guided? How is humanity guided? It's been guided by gate 62, which is very, very logical. And it's all about the careful use of language and expressing things logically. A plus B equals C, always. I have gate 62. That's why I have to line out this talk this way, right? Take you from A to B to C to get you to the end. We're moving to gate 53. How are we going to be guided? Gate 53 is a beautiful energy, but it's just interested in new, always something new. It's wanting to start new. It's not interested in sustaining. That's not its function. It's always about starting new things. The creative thrust, where's our creative thrust going? It's been gate 32, which is all about duration, having the right people in the right jobs, hanging in there because you know that if you make friends with time, transformation is going to happen. You just nose to the grindstone, work the process, right? We're moving for a creative thrust that's totally intuitive. Total intuitive awareness in the moment, totally existential, momentary awareness. That's how we're going to be guided. And then we go to the plan. We've been in gate 42, which is the gate of increase. 42 has been all about growth. Look at how our world's expanded. Global markets, international shipping lines, supply chains. This is all gate 42. The plan, we're going to gate 51, which is the gate of shock, the gate of waking up. We're going to have, and it's all going to be about, do we have as a society, as humanity, the ability to grow and stay grounded and learn because of shock. Shock as a way of life, that waking up. this sits, you know, Richard's going to say some amazing things about it. This is all about, the shock is to wake us up into higher states of consciousness. Can we as a society live through it? Can we make it to the other side? So let's just stop here for a moment. Those are big changes. Do you hear the logic and the collective and the caring for everybody that's on, is what we have lived with and what we've grown through? And it has shaped the way we look out on the world, this background frequency. We're all products of the incarnation cross of planning, which are these current 8 energies. 2027, all the kids are going to start to be born under the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which are the 8 new energies. They're going to have a different background frequency. We're all going to get to watch it. Now, our world is not going to just spin and change in an instant. It shifts generationally, because we've all been energized under the current background frequency. We're still the majority, and we'll be the majority for a number of decades. But then we're going to have this shift where the new population comes up, and we all get to kick the bucket and die away. And then the new frequency gets to have its true dominance or prominence in the social fabric of our world in 50 to 75 years, 75 years or so. So we're not going to see the major shift, but we are seeing, because we have been shifting into a new place in the neutrino stream, we've started to see some of these start to get wobbly, start to get poked at, and start to potentially break down. So can our society continue as it is without this background frequency? One of the suppositions is no, it'll eventually break down because these supportive energies have shifted into the new. And can we even really imagine what the new is? We almost can't, because our worldview is so tied to the background frequency that we were born to. But our grandkids, grandkids, and the next generations are going to come and have a very different perspective and influence in life. So, yeah, so we're going, collective, future-oriented, do things for the future, do things for the whole group, to being really about being in the moment, being individual in the moment. And again, it's all just fine when we're all hanging out with our higher trust in life, trust in the universe, unconditional love frequencies. Little shaky when we think about people that are really fear-based and really in the grips of fear as a way that they look out onto the world. And so, 2027 and then on is really going to celebrate an individual that really knows how to navigate life correctly for them and how to be empowered as an individual. And human design can help you do that. And we all hopefully get to see 2027 come and watch even more what's happening. That's what I got. Questions, thoughts? tired, stunned.
I have a,
Yeah.
I'm the question lady. So the plan, Gate 51 shock,
Mhm.
of course, and we're talking, this is a 412-year, right?
Yeah,
Says,
it's gonna be in that key is gonna be in that lock for 400 plus years.
so, what I'm hoping, or maybe I don't understand this, but what I'm hoping is that being in the now allows us to wake up and to transcend
Yes.
out having to have shock be the process. Is that, am I on track there?
That's what we'll want, looking from our perspective. We'll
Yeah.
see what our kids and our younger generations, the new generations, how they relate to it. But it's, you know, it's this piece around human design, which is none of it matters if I know how to be correct and drive my own vehicle. Then I can be a curious observer and an aware interactor in the scope of my life, and know that this is just a background frequency, but I don't have to go bouncing off the walls. Through all of this, I can find my course, stay my course, and fulfill my life, my soul purpose, my soul path.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and what I like about everything about human design, oh my God, it's helped me go through this last political 6 years. You know, I, instead of getting so caught up in the political drama, I look at it from a human design perspective, right? And it just helps me understand the players and what's going on a little more objectively. So this helps me think about, you know, you know, interpret what's going on that's impacting our future through this lens, and it settles me down. It's like, okay, we're on track. This is what should be happening.
I'm seeing, you know, like nephew and other friends, grandbabies, they look, I swear, the day they're born, they look like they are so present and so vibrant, and they don't look like baby look. It's really fascinating.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions about any of it, right? Or any human design questions? Because we didn't really go there that much.
Can your slides be made available? So I could like look at the chart in more
Sure,
detail?
sure. I mean, Dottie was gonna, don't you post this on YouTube, Dottie?
Yes, I
I can send you the slide deck itself. Oh, I can make it into a PDF. It can shrink down. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Happy to. I'll send it to Dottie. She can send it.
Some of the stuff that's filled with type would be hard to.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Some of it is a little minutia there. Victoria.
So Cathy, this is a lot, and
Yeah, it is.
you've already in some ways answered how this helps you. It seems like feel, you know, have some maybe equanimity, or at least not
Yeah, equanimity, that's a good word.
anxiety. And I'm wondering if you can offer any kind of general, I mean, I guess general guidance, or just, you know, I don't even
Do
know
you
what.
know your design, Victoria?
Mm.
Have you had a reading with Dottie?
I have, and the only that I wish I had retrieved it for tonight, but I know my primary gene keys are 1, 2, 7, and 13, and Dottie said that was prominent
Oh,
on
you're a Sphinx, so you're in alignment with this.
She's a manifesting generator.
Ah,
Let me read.
so here's if there's one thing about human design to get, because, I love it. So I'm
Yeah,
just
manifesting generator.
I'm just messing around in it all the time. You want to understand your inner authority. If you get your inner authority, you don't need much else. The rest of it is just fascinating. But knowing your inner authority, how to work with it, helps you navigate your own personal trajectory. That's the key. Is she sacral or emotional?
Sacral.
Oh, you have the potential to be a real fast mover, Victoria. Do you? Is she? Those that know her?
There's a lot going on.
Uh-huh. So, yeah,
So is inner authority, I mean, does that,
your inner authority is sacral. The moment you get so you have to trust that life's always coming up against your torso. Literally, that life is coming up and ringing your doorbell from the outside. Your job is to pay attention to your gut response. Pay attention to your, and then it's like, I'm supposed to pay attention here. There's something here for me. And it's not mental. It is a visceral, physical response that has no cognitive component to it. It's just, my doorbell rang. I'm supposed to go answer the door, open. What happens when we ring the doorbell, right? The doorbell rings. You go open the door, and then you decide if you like what's there or not, right? And so for you as a manifesting generator, something comes up, wakes up your sacral center, and it makes noises. It's happy. It expands. It lifts. And you go, I'm supposed to pay attention to this. Life just brought me something. I'm curious about it. You get to test it out as a manifesting generator. Do I really like this? And give it like a little beta test. Try it out. And then if it's correct for you, there'll be this amazing whoosh of energy. And it's like, okay, I am locked and loaded. Off you go. So you do need to do a little bit of a tango, a little checking, experiencing, letting it happen. Often with manifesting generators, you feel like you might get to the precipice a lot and never pull the trigger. And so you think you're a bad decision maker. It's just the manifesting energy hasn't dropped in. So you shouldn't be going forward.
oh,
And so you're not a bad decision maker. You're being correct because you don't want to push through until that manifesting that it just falls into place. I know I'm supposed to go, and then get that Maserati that you're driving as a personal vehicle because you have the capacity to move really fast, and then just let her rip. But don't go until that last piece falls into place. The doorbell rings, you check it out, might be a day, might be a week, a month, and then it'll either just dissolve and there's no interest there, or it just powers forward. It's like, now I know. And it's not mental. It's an experiential knowing.
mhm.
Yeah.
So for all of us then just tuning into whatever.
And everybody's got different inner authorities here. There's probably a good variety here amongst everybody.
That's helpful to know
Yeah.
but
But one thing, that's where you go. That's what you if you're gonna be curious, go spend your time there.
thank you.
And what Richard does with the gene keys is beautiful. He talks a lot about what and your path and getting clear about, what's the fear-based side, what's the empowered side, city side. Human design adds a component about when. Now is the time to go forward. And so, getting clear about what you want, but then only going when your inner authority says now is what the work of human design is, the core.
Cindy has a question.
So I'm curious, my definition is a triple split definition. Does that mean you've got three
Three
different
areas
parts
of
of
wisdom
me
is the
trying to
way.
balance? What?
I say you have 3 areas of wisdom, 3 islands of wisdom. I love
Okay.
the triple splits. You probably have an incredibly varied group of friends and acquaintances.
Mhm.
Probably you would not bring them all into the same party
No.
because they'd go, why are you here? We're Cindy's friend. You can't possibly be Cindy's friend because you're all hooking up. These 3 parts of you are getting engaged in all different parts of your life. You get stimulated from different directions.
Mhm.
So you're a triple split what? What's your inner authority?
Inner authority, emotional solar plexus,
Okay.
frustration,
She's
And
a
are you a
manifesting
generator?
generator.
manifesting generator.
Oh,
Yeah.
another manifesting generator. So
So what is that?
you do-
Is
you
that
do
like I
need
have to wait for the opportunity for it?
oh, don't get me going on the word wait because it's not waiting. I'll put that word out there and it just has you manifesting generators running for the hills. Who wants to wait? So while you're going around your days, you too, Victoria, it's like waiting and means, oh, I'm supposed to sit on the couch and eat bonbons. Well, this is not the waiting. This is active waiting. And so be engaged in your life, doing the things you assume are good for you. And be awake and aware for when your sacral center gets rung. When you wake up and it's like, oh, something has just come up against me, and I have a visceral response to it. Pay attention to that. So it's not this passive waiting, it's active. But don't be so locked in your head trying to figure out life that you cannot feel your visceral physical sensation. And then for you, you got a bit of a dance because you got, how do I feel about it? The doorbell rings, you go answer the door. Oh, this is interesting. How do I feel about it? And then you got to run it through your triple splits. Well, what do I think about it? Probably. What does my intuition say? Right? The different parts of you are going to bring a different wisdom, a different voice. And it's kind of like you have to have a board meeting. Right? A board meeting within yourself, and you got to hear all the perspectives. And in the end, how do you feel about it? Then you have to go back to how you feel about it.
Mhm.
Right? And when you get emotionally clear, go.
So if I have all of my, like everything's filled in,
Oh, yeah.
what does that mean? I'm less influenced by people, or?
Yeah, it's one aspect of it. You are when I see somebody that the lingo is you're heavily defined, right? You've got lots of definition. So the people around you experience you. Cindy is who she is, who she is, who she is. She is consistent as the North Star. We know who's going to show up at every interaction. You have a solidity and a consistency about you, reliability about you. But within that, you've got your own. That's the way other people probably perceive you. And then you're trying to navigate your own life, which may not feel so consistent and so stable and so predictable. But you are less influenced by the daily transits. You're kind of having your own party. You're having your own energetic party, and kind of being able to, be the ship that just parts the crowd with the energy you've got. And it does not mean you do not connect to people. Don't look at it that way. I'm sure there's many, many ways you connect to people, but to be influenced by them to the point that you can't discern who am I versus who is they, you have less of that than somebody who's got a very light chart that only has 2 or none or 3 energy centers defined.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Oh, very good. So it's 9 o'clock. Does anybody have any really quick thing they just need to get out of the way? Nope. So I would say, Kathy, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Quite fun.
I
So
really appreciate your being here.
yeah,
I do have a couple of things I would like to say, an announcement. One is that some of you, I've already reviewed your chart. If you would like me to review your chart, I'm doing them as Kathy said. So because I'm learning, I'm going to be not as thorough probably as Kathy would be, but I can share with you what I learned, and what I say is when I know more, I can tell you more.
yeah, and she'll keep learning.
Yeah, keep learning. And the next thing is, I'm in her classes right now. So the next thing is that for August, we're going to have a potluck so that we can all get together again in person, which we haven't done for a long time. And for those of you who are calling in from other places, if you would like to participate, we're going to have the potluck and then we'll have a conversation instead of a presentation. And so if you would like to participate in the conversation, let me know and I'll set up a Zoom and give you a link, and you can call in and you'll be on a screen and you'll be able to see us and be able to participate. So I'll be sending out an email about that shortly. So anyway, thank you, Kathy. That was
Well, thank
fabulous.
you. It was fun.
Yep, I hope
Very much.
you all enjoyed it.
That
Thank you,
was
Kathy.
wonderful.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So we'll see you next month.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so
That was
much.
great.
Bye.